All right. Hello, everybody. This is Joshua Stir with Freedom Affairs Podcast. I'm here with my good friends, Caleb John Cushing and Brandon McPherson.
Good morning.
Hey.
What's up? Today, we are talking about the 2004 movie Crash, that won the 2006 Academy Award for Best Picture. It was released at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, in 2004. American release 2005. Academy Award 2006.
All right, now read the rest of the Wikipedia page.
Wait, I'd like to know at some point for sure
I will.
what the other nominees were.
Oh,
for the
well,
Academy
don't
Award
worry,
that
Brandon,
year.
because I am happy to tell you.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Do you want to now, or do you want to? Is that how you want to go in?
I'm
The
gonna defer
movies,
to
the
Josh.
movies that the Academy decided that this was better than.
Yes. So here's a little background. The reason why I picked it was because we've been doing this cool little, like, every decade kind of thing, and this happened to fit into it. It just so happened that I participated in like a Q&A with one of the co-writers. And I found it interesting because we talked a lot about, ideas of films and like exploring like people being connected and like different points of view, because a lot of movies only have one point of view, if not a couple. And people were asking questions. Well, how do you write, a thing with multiple points of view?
Not like this.
Not like this.
Sorry. I'll try.
It deals with a heavy-handed issue with race, and before going into that, Brandon, what did you think?
I thought the acting was great, and I appreciated all the work that the actors did.
Ever so diplomatic.
No, I mean, I honestly did. As I was watching it, I was like at certain instances, like with Ryan Phillippe or Matt Dillon or Terrence Howard, or I was just like, if it wasn't these people, I wouldn't be able to get through this. You know what I mean?
I see that. Yeah.
I was like, if it wasn't all these people, I would not be able to. I would just turn the shit off, because I'd be like, that's a real uplifting movie at fucking 8 a.m. So they were great, but yeah, it's just like, it's so on the fucking nose. It's just like,
yeah, we talked about that, where it's like, it's literally a nose. I feel like it's so on the nose. What did you say? It's like a nose hair?
My favorite review that I've read of this said, it's so on the nose, it's basically a nasal hair, which makes me laugh so hard.
It's just like, yeah, like, and yeah, cool. Like it's whatever. Like it's good. I don't see how it won the Academy Award. Like,
yeah.
It's just
it's a movie that it's very safe, which might not make a lot of sense given like the subject matter.
No, 100%.
But it's not controversial. Like, racism's bad. And you can watch this and be like, all of these people are like racist, and that's bad. It's like, and it's not, how's that challenging? For the vast majority of people. And it's a movie that's designed to make socially liberal white people feel good about themselves for thinking racism's bad. And the Academy was like, hey, we all know that racism's bad. Yeah, this is good. I agree with this. Politics. And so they're like, great. It's a movie of the year, movie of the fucking decade.
Right.
And it's so aggravating because it's so melodramatic. It's so heavy-handed. And none of these observations are like, I can forgive maybe a lack of nuance if the ultimate point that you're making is profound. Like, maybe if they were talking about systemic racism and the ways that like our culture perpetuates these ideas and gives permission to these ideas.
The scene with Ryan Phillippe and the chief of police or the sergeant
is the closest that the movie comes to talking about it.
That's what I'm saying.
The 2-hour runtime is filled with just people hucking slurs at each other. Same 13 people in a city of 4 million that keep on fucking interacting and like, oh, it's like all connected. Like, this fucking guy saw Magnolia and he was like, oh, I could do that. Like, fuck this fucking piece of shit. It makes no sense because the characters have no consistency. You want to talk about racism, like these characters have one idea when they're talking to one person because the script needs them to. And then the very next scene, they'll say something racist to somebody else. And it's like, what are you saying? What is this movie saying, honestly?
Well, that point I thought was pretty clear. That point was just like, just people being racist and shitty to other people adds that, and then they're taking that out on somebody else. I thought that was pretty, you know what I mean?
Well, I argue, I say, thinking about it is, it's looking at not necessarily like the situation like the before, but it's like what you do after when you're I don't know. It's like what does the fallout look like to you? Like it's the
of the crash.
It's the crash. It's the cop who molests a black woman.
Oh, I fucking hate it. I hated that storyline. I fucking hated it.
And then all of a sudden he has to save her, and it's like
that made me so fucking uncomfortable. He gets to be a hero. They like legitimize his like.
Well, that's the problem with that is
like
that Matt Dillon's too good. That's the problem with that. Is Matt Dillon's too good?
It's the problem is not the acting, it's the writing.
No, but again, if Matt Dillon I get really also mad at Matt Dillon
for like being,
you know what I mean? That's the thing.
He plays the part very well, sure.
But we know Matt Dillon.
I don't know Matt Dillon. Do you know Matt Dillon?
I'm saying you've grown up watching Matt Dillon movies where generally he's Matt Dillon and he's like a cool, nice guy or whatever, or in a comedy or whatever he's doing,
Sure, but to Caleb's point, walking away from this movie, there was no I don't feel like there was any kind of like major lesson to be learned, except for that no matter who you are, you can be Persian, you can be black, you can be white, you can be Jewish, you can be Asian or Chinese, you can be, but like everybody can, that's the whole Avenue Q, you
can write a story and you can write something that's like, hey, we all have some prejudices.
Yeah.
And like, it's up to you to like kind of confront those, and like how we treat each other is important. But that's not what this movie does.
No.
What I meant, Brandon, was that like, in one scene, Sandra Bullock will be like, fuck these fucking immigrants. And then Brendan Fraser will be like, what are you talking about? And then turn around and be like, black people. Like, it's like, no, there's no consistency because the characters are only whatever the story needs them to be to make their point. It's not like, I didn't get what you said out of it where like, what I'm sorry, I don't want to misconstrue your point, but you said like people affect other people and then No, not what I got out of the movie. I just thought they made that very clear with the people being super racist to each other. Just like you literally have like, the guy with the store going in to buy the gun and the guy being super racist to him. Then Michael Pena goes into his store and he's like a dick to Michael Pena. It's just very, he's a dick because he assumes. But I don't think that's what I'm saying. I didn't get that it's like these people are dicks because people are dicks to them. I think the movie's saying that everybody has just these deep rooted prejudices against each other.
I think it's funny. I think prejudice is actually a really good word is a better word to describe this movie than like racist, right? Like, obviously,
it's racial prejudices.
Racial prejudices, but in terms of like right. So like, sorry, thoughts, words. I just like the word prejudice. That's all.
Pride.
Speaking of Sean Taub, I mean, we're jumping all over the place, but I really the way they handled his character and the way that they handled the Matt Dillon Tandy Newton story were my absolute. I thought they were disgusting.
Well, I actually want to talk about that for a second. Yeah, because you mentioned that. I want to the Matt Dillon story. What I meant was like it's even worse because as an actor he's likable, and then I don't want to like this character at all. Why would you do this redemption story? Why? I just don't. It just seems like such a weird choice.
Because what I get, what you're saying is like, as long as he does his bare minimum job as a police officer, everything else is like kind of okay. He's like, oh, he's sad about his dad. Fucking, I don't give a shit. He literally like, he sexually assaulted a woman.
Yeah, he molested
Which,
her,
by the way, I don't know if you fucking read this, but Tandy Newton, which is the actress who played that woman, said that the Paul Haggis, the director, like didn't want her to have like safety underwear to make it feel real, whatever the fuck that means. Like as if they're not acting. And I found that to be so horrible because we've talked about this.
That's not going to fly anymore.
We talked about this, it's from like the actors too, like the method, like how that's like not what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I found that to be so sickening. And then you watch the movie And I don't, it's like,
dude, I mean, the method is predicated on safety of the actors in the audience.
yeah, it's fucking pretend. It's acting.
Like, that's the whole point. How many times anytime you're doing something on set or on stage or whatever, and one of our teachers would be like, are you in control? Like, are you safe? You know what I mean? And like, that's...
Sure, but like, it's disgusting. I mean, it's anything that you read about, Marlon Brando and everything like that. But like trying to get that real reaction out of women or actresses.
Yeah, you're right, Josh. To be clear, it's always women.
What?
I'm agreeing. I'm saying that's a good point because it's always, whenever something like this is always putting women in difficult situations.
Right.
I think
and like trying to get that,
it's
whatever
never
that
like,
reaction is.
Yeah.
It's one thing if Tom Cruise wants to be a fucking crazy person and do his own stunts,
Yeah.
But it's always directors being like, hey, Tandy Newton, or hey, actress. Like,
well, but the other thing though is with male actors, there's always stories with stunts. So like you know what? Fuck, it might have been Paul Haggis as well. Wait, who did? Okay, anyways, it's one of the guys that works with Mark Wahlberg all the time. No, I think it was Pete Berg. But they were doing one of the war movies or whatever, and he blew up a thing on like 2 count in front of his face. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Mark Wahlberg freaked out because he was like, "What's wrong? Like, you almost ruined my career. You can't do that." So there's things like that with male actors, or like Die Hard. Very famously, they drop shit. What's his name?
Bruce Willis.
No, Harry Potter. Snape.
Alan.
Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me.
Alan. No.
Come on, guys.
Don't do this, man. I was just watching Harry Potter 3 like last night as well.
Really?
Like,
you don't know? You can't name it? One of you.
I haven't slept.
One of the two of you.
Help me.
Wait, the guy who played
Help
Snape?
me. I know who it is.
Josh looks like he's about to get
his
it.
name. This is what I hate, you guys.
I thought it was like Alan Rickman or something.
Yes, it is.
It is Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Thank you. God damn it, Caleb. Thank you, Josh.
We're all actors. I know. It's like we got to know people's
We have
names.
to start knowing. I have to be
All right,
better
so
at people's names.
They very
totally.
famously dropped Alan Rickman again on 2 count in that last scene. And it's just like, it's those type of things but it's not, I'd obviously rather have that every time than have to deal with.
Than be sexually assaulted. Sure, yeah.
It's so fucked up. Like that, hopefully we're in a world now where that, can't happen and shouldn't happen. There should be intimacy coaches on set for all of these things now.
100%. And it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I actually was getting like brochures from the Stage Directors and Choreographers Society, since I'm an associate member, of how to handle as a director, like rehearsal rooms and sexual conduct like that. Like Me Too didn't start until 2017, 16, when it fully like was like, hey, this is an issue in the industry, right? So this is 2004, so this is very much and that's what I kept thinking, because it made me so angry, just the blatant racial prejudices that these characters, and I understand they're just characters, but I don't know if it's because of, I can't bring myself out of like the red that I see every day in real life, like with MAGA, with people with Trumpism and Trump supporters and prejudices against immigrants and things like that. And it's like, it's kind of the reason why I don't think the South Park special, the COVID special, whatever, was funny.
Pandemic special?
The pandemic was funny because who they were making fun of are actual real people that actually say those things. Like, it's no longer a satire if it's real life. You know what I mean? Like, if those people actually exist and say those things about the masks and health and things like that, like, it's no longer funny because that's what we have to deal with in real life, And so with that racism and the prejudices, the fact that people have been more open the last 3-4 years because they've had like essentially someone in the White House that says, yeah, whatever, take back America, whatever. Seeing a character like Matt Dillon or like the Gun No Shop owner or anything like that, to see those characters, behave the way they should in a movie like this, because that's what the movie is about. Like, I think it added to my level of anger at these people, because I know that these aren't just characters, that these people are still around today and whatever, and like nothing's changed, nobody's learned anything.
Well, I think like, for me, it's taking it a step further, because like, I hear what you're saying. The movie's not like making any comments or further implications on any of this stuff. It's showing it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just showing people being prejudiced, but it's not saying, how we move on from that, or it's not talking about how to deal with that or tackle that. It's just like these
Not
are a
even-
bunch of people.
and nothing.
Yeah, and that's when I like it's not
Yeah.
effective because when you're like, oh, I'm holding up a mirror to society, but like as an artist or like as somebody who's telling a story, you should be then taking that and then saying something with it or commenting on how we move past it or how a society can grow from that, which doesn't happen. You know? Like that's
No, I literally left the movie. In a movie like this, you should leave with some thoughts, some feelings, debating something going on.
Oh yeah, like
And all I
opening
kept
up
thinking was-
questions to like actually
all
learn
I,
something.
all
yeah.
I kept thinking was, so did the gun jam, or is this movie actually about magic and that girl's invisible cloak works?
I
No.
fucking hated that scene.
Either-
I hated that fucking
So
scene.
I
neither,
wanna talk-
Brandon.
I definitely want to talk about that at some point.
they were blanks, just so you know.
Oh, the girl switched them out?
No. The
No,
box
the
that
guy
she bought
sold
originally.
them blanks in the very beginning.
Because if you remember, the guy was like, "Do you know what's in those?" And she's like, "Just sell me the bullets." And because obviously my second rewatch,
It was
they
like,
cover-
okay,
they do-
Osama. Like, shut up.
They do
You
really
guys are
good.
going to like this, but now putting that together, I like it more.
So like the daughter's intention was
Right.
like, if my father has to buy a gun, like I'm not going to put that in his hands to kill somebody because that would ruin him. Sure, great. You know, as a daughter, you're like, I don't want my dad to be what people think he is. You know, but because he obviously feels this need to protect his shop, but they cover up the fact that they're blanks because her hand's always on it or whatever. They never show you until
It's that last reveal
she
of the-
puts the gun back.
Yeah,
and it
I
says
was wondering
blanks.
about that insert shot. I was like, cool, bullets.
It's funny because it's funny because Ryan literally called it the second before it was revealed. I was like, oh yeah, it makes
Well,
sense because for
it's
me,
fucking dumb. It's bad screenwriting. You have a whole fucking monologue with his daughter being like, "I'm putting a bulletproof cloak on you." I was like, "Oh, I wonder what the fuck's gonna happen later."
Yeah.
and then she
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
runs out, and then horrible fucking handling of that character. He's justifiably fucking like paranoid. They
Yeah.
paint Sean Taub as like this like fucking delusional crazy man, where he's living in a fucking big city in urban America a few years after 9/11. Like, of course, you know, he's going to be fucking like, you know, and then the fucking guy, and then his shop gets fucking ransacked. You know, the daughter's like, oh, guns are bad. He's like, well, like, look, we have people fucking coming in here and like ruining our business. And then, of course, you know, you can't just leave it at that. He has to be fucking angry and racist himself. And then he has to take a fucking gun and drive like he's going to fucking shoot somebody. And he does, and he's gonna commit fucking murder.
Yeah. See, like, how at the end of this is he not still getting arrested or turning himself in? I thought that's what was
The
gonna
movie
happen.
justifies it and it makes him like a fucking good guy by reducing him to like, oh, it's a miracle. Oh, it's
Yeah,
God's
thanks to
will.
God,
She's
yeah.
my guardian angel, and now everything's fine. And it's like, it's just so indicative because this movie refuses to investigate the issues that it claims that it is, because in the world of this movie, it takes one interaction with somebody to magically become not prejudiced or to become the most racist version of yourself. Like, I fucking hated Sandra Bullock's character in this. I fucking hated her character in this. She spends the whole fucking time complaining about her goddamn maid and being like, oh, these fucking people and this, that, and the third. And then she fucking falls down the stairs.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
She's like, oh, I was wrong. And now my fucking maid that I pay to fucking do this fucking debasing labor is my best friend. He's my only friend. Fuck off.
I don't understand the falling down the stairs.
And it was all slow-mo, right? Or like, I don't know if it was in slow-mo necessarily, but that music that played after she was like, oh, like, come on. I laughed out loud because it's fucking ridiculous.
yeah. So I want to go back to Michael Pena's character.
He's screaming.
I actually
Loving his
to
daughter.
And
be-
I love Michael Pena.
to be honest, because this is like one of his first things, right? Back in
I don't-
04, did he have
I think he
anything
was-
major before this?
Yeah, I think he was maybe not major, but he's been around. Like, he's just always been working, I feel like.
So I actually thought it was actually really cute, like a father. I enjoy father-daughter scenes, and I thought the daughter was really cute. I thought a father like giving her that little, you know, so that she's not scared. I thought that was actually really one of my favorite scenes. And I wrote down like, oh yeah, cool, imaginary like object work, you know, him taking off the
Oh my
cloak
God.
and whatever, and pulling the hair back. I
Jesus
thought,
Christ.
good for you.
It's manipulative.
No, I mean, I here's the thing though. Like, I again, this is what I was talking about. I like Michael Pena.
Kayla, I understand your criticism of it because because we laughed the same like you when apparently because I thought it misfired. You know what I mean? Like I thought I was following the gun logic until it didn't hit, and then I was like, oh, maybe, and like opposite maybe what Brandon just said in terms of like liking it more that he knows it's blanks. For me, when I found that they were blanks, I was like, well, that's dumb. I would have rather it been like actually just sheer fucking luck.
You would rather her actually have a magic.
Yeah.
No. But like
I would respect this movie way more if they were like, oh, by the way, magic exists, and never talk about it.
It's like the dark
They
just
comedy
move
for
on.
Texas Chainsaw. You would have like
It slows down. You see the bullet bounce off,
and then
of her,
it
they
becomes
just
like a superhero
never
origin
talk
story.
about it.
Like she gets up and the bullets like you know how like a bulletproof vest it would be like crumpled on the clothes.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Daddy, look, and then everybody's like, oh my fucking god.
And this whole movie was a setup for Crash 2, The Crasher.
And then at the end, Bruce Willis from Unbreakable comes
Unbreakable,
in, and it
yeah.
comes into Split.
no, but like we
Better
laughed
movie
because
than Glass
all Ryan could think though is Michael Pena's character in Ant-Man going,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit, the cloak is real. Because he
It's just-
obviously, but that
Very
that
funny.
aside, like it's Caleb's right on point where there is no, because the characters never go through this, like, you know, you can say all you want about like, you know, people having prejudices or being racist towards other minorities or people, things like that. It's like the whole example of, well, keep going to the shopkeeper. You know, he actually was actively going to shoot the guy because he blamed the guy, Michael Pena's character, for the break-in. Not the fact that Michael Pena told him to get the door fixed, it's not the lock, but because, you know, and so he's actively going to go kill him and will need the money or whatever. That's unforgivable. Like, why? And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's an act of God. I'm okay.
Yeah, she's my guardian
No, but
angel.
he's-
Everything's fine
Yeah,
now.
but, like,
Shut
you're
the
not.
fuck
But
up.
you're
just
not. You
tried
still
to
try to
shoot
shoot
a
You
dude.
literally just attempted to murder someone
Right,
in
exactly.
the middle of a residential neighborhood in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god!
But
it's
same
so
thing with,
fucking
like, it's-
stupid.
Stood there for 5 minutes holding the gun.
Yeah, yelling,
like-
and there were
But
definitely
I wanted
witnesses.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to what Josh was saying because I agree. Like it's this interesting thing. That's what I was talking about at the beginning with the acting, where that scene with Michael Pena and his daughter under the bed. I enjoyed this scene. I liked Michael Pena's acting. I liked the daughter. But at the same time, you can't help but be like, wow, it's just dumb. But like the scene itself, I like. And I like the
That's what we
actors in
said
it, and I like how
before,
they did
where
it.
you know,
Yeah,
the
it's just
actors are
like-
only given what they're given. Like
right.
each performance is fine, but they can only, like, Sandra Bullock is infuriating as a character, but Sandra
Right,
Bullock
she
still
still-
came in prepared to be that character, and that's all that she was
Right.
given because this is the movie that they were signed on to do.
And then you got to
don't
think
know.
for her. She at some point she's like, "Oh, thank God, I got The Blind Side."
Yeah,
Right?
like it's another fucking movie that handles racial politics really poorly. But this time she got the Oscar for it.
At least it's a true story, so that's helpful.
This was allegedly a true story.
This one was based off like an
Fuck
incident.
you.
No,
No,
Paul
it's-
Haggis got carjacked outside
Yeah.
of a whatever, and he's like, I'm going to write a fucking narrative about
Yeah.
racism. That's real.
Yeah.
Speaking
Okay.
of carjackers,
Ludacris.
Ludacris is the man. I don't wanna hear
Ludacris
it.
goes on a whole fucking monologue about people's racial prejudices and expectations of him, and how like, oh, the real race, we're
Yeah.
the ones really in danger. And then he pulls out a gun and carjacks Brendan Fraser. It makes no sense.
It doesn't
What are you
make sense.
saying?
It
What are you
doesn't-
trying to say about this?
Yeah.
It's fucking dumb, and it makes you come off more racist than like the
Right,
people in your
but
movie.
But that's not Ludacris's fault.
That's
I liked Ludacris's acting,
One,
and I thought he did a great job.
Because one of the most
Oh, God, here we go.
accidental fun, the three most accidentally hilarious parts of the movie. The first, what we already talked about, was Michael Pena's
Luda.
daughter, like just the slow mo and the music, and it was just so funny because obviously, like, I don't know, it was just so dumb. One of the other times I laughed really hard was when him and Larenz, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Lorenz Tate, his friend, the two carjackers,
the
Luda
brother
and
of Don
Lorenz.
Cheadle, the baby brother of Don Cheadle.
What?
The brother of Don Cheadle, right?
Yeah, spoiler alert
Yeah.
for another fucking stupid reveal. But they run over the Korean guy,
yeah,
right? And they find out that he's under the car, and Ludacris goes, "Oh, this is so fucked up." It's like this is like a funny. It's funny. You put the right music under exactly what he did in that scene, and it's a comedy. It's an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, or It's Always Sunny.
Why is that bad?
Because it's the tonal dissonance, Brandon. This movie wants you to be horrified at all this shit that's happening. It wants you to be emotionally invested. But it's so ridiculous and melodramatic that I'm laughing. This movie does not want me to be laughing at this scene. Ludacris going, man, this is Luda fucked up. It's just, come on. I'm just sick of it. The reason that I'm so animated and the reason that I'm so upset is because Hollywood is just full of shit. And I know this is not a new opinion, and I know I'm not saying anything, but like, you have a movie that is designed to make people feel good, and everybody pats themselves on the back and gives 1 million Academy Awards, and it wins all this shit for quote unquote starting a conversation about racism or prejudice or whatever. Meanwhile, we're in 2020. It's been over 15 fucking years, and these issues are still happening in the industry. It's taken a fucking decade to even make the minimum headway that has been made in our industry that we want to be a part of, right? So then this movie fucking didn't do anything then. Yeah. What does this accomplish? It's a fucking circle jerk. And that makes me fucking mad to have this, like, to preach on your fucking soapbox and then not fucking, like, you know, Paul Haggis got fucking, you know, he was one of the people accused in Me Too. The fucking writer-director of this, writing a fucking scene being like, yeah, don't wear your safety underwear. Fuck off. It's creatively bankrupt. It's like fucking morally bankrupt. And I don't understand. I don't fucking understand. Like, it just makes me mad. I'm really fucking upset. And I know, sorry.
No, but that's the thing. It's like, hey, let's go win an Academy Award. We're just going to load this movie up with every scene being this is what we think that is going to win an Academy Award.
Give me an Oscar. Give me an Oscar. It's like,
that's what it feels. That's what it feels like. And it feels like, hey, I'm going to use these issues to win myself an Academy Award.
Waste of time. You know? Waste of time and money. And, oh God, talking about Academy Awards, the fucking big controversy, I think, how do you pick this movie over Brokeback Mountain? And Josh said, you know, they weren't ready. You know, they weren't ready for an actual fucking examination of like prejudice.
Yeah.
You know, Brokeback Mountain does such a better job.
That's wild.
Well, we were saying before, it's like, it wasn't until like the Danish Girl that the Academy was like, oh, look at how we explore LGBTQ and trans community and whatever, and this artful thing. And now, don't get me wrong, like, I personally enjoyed the Danish Girl, but like this, like, in terms of like Academy Award like movies that you're like, we're gonna make this to get an Academy Award type of stuff, like, especially being like not even sensitive towards the subject matter. Like, what would you describe it as? Is like, this is like, well, I ask, but like so the Brokeback Mountain 2005 or whatever, you know, because it was in the same category 2006, so dealt with that cult, like that, like whatever the issue, you know, the gay cowboy type stuff. But I actually haven't seen it in years and years.
The gay cowboy movie, because it's based in it's telling the story of real characters. These characters are struggling with their feelings in a culture that does absolutely militantly does not accept who they are.
And then the point being that it's about love and a person loving it makes a point.
It makes a point about like, how can you reconcile your feelings with like your actions or your thoughts, and like, can you move forward for like, how does trauma affect different people? Can you love a person despite things that your society or culture deems like? There's so much going on in that movie, and it's beautifully written, and it's beautifully acted, and it looks gorgeous.
Plus, shout out, rest in peace, the legend Heath Ledger.
Yes,
the man,
and Gyllenhaal, and like, but you're right, Josh. They were not, because that movie is not a movie that's designed to make socially liberal white people feel good about themselves. Right. Yeah. That movie is actually designed to examine a real issue. So of course they're not ready for it. It's like, oh, it's so much easier. It's so much easier to pat myself on the back because, oh, I know that Matt Dillon is wrong. I disagree, but we still have to make sure he's the hero. It's fucking bullshit.
Well, and again, like that. That's the most frustrating thing in the movie, I think, for sure. Is just,
I would say for me, it's the second most frustrating. I agree with you. It's so, but I really hated what I also hated what they did with Ryan Felipe's character.
Yeah. Also because I really like Ryan Felipe. I think he's a fantastic actor, you know, And even up to the end there, like I thought he was doing a great job. I thought the scene with him and Terrence Howard is the best scene in the movie, in my opinion.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense for what.
Yeah, but Dad, none of the movie makes any sense.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
the
talking
problem.
About, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, as the two actors, I enjoyed them in that scene. That's what I mean. You know what I mean?
What is Terrence Howard trying to do?
He's trying. So his arc is interesting because he gets obviously racially profiled by like Matt Dillon's character.
Yeah.
You know, because they're looking for a navigator that obviously isn't that car, but he's
Ryan
like,
Phillippe is like, that's obviously not
let's
it.
go see. Oh, and what? She was blowing him in the front seat, so obviously we're gonna pull him over.
Fucking hilarious.
And
so funny. She comes up, she's like, huh?
Yeah,
like, Jesus Christ.
And then he like doesn't stand up for his wife in the scene, and so he's kind of they have that whole conversation, that scene in the bedroom about, you know, you got to be careful because it's cops and they're bad. They're always prejudiced against black people and they could shoot us. And she's like, well, fuck you. I was assaulted. How dare you?
Yeah.
You know, and it's a little bit of a point to be made that like maybe Terrence Howard's character had always had like a privilege life. Because we haven't talked much on this podcast, but especially over the summer, there's a lot of conversations about white passing or what's the technical term? Do you know? Like the ability to kind of, as a person of color, to pass in a predominantly white like community or whatever, or like passing or something like that. And so like you're thinking like, because he's like a TV director, right? He's his profession. You know, it's very awesome that he's got to the level that he is. But you know, you have to maybe think or guess that, you know, he had to sacrifice where he was from so that he could like kind of, you know, kiss the ass of producers and people like that to get to where he is. Anyway, that being said, that's all speculation, and it's never said in the actual movie.
Well, but I think what the movie's trying to say or commenting with that is like, okay, like Tandy Newton's whole thing is she's like, you know, you have to like kind of humiliate yourself and debase yourself in order. That's like how you social climb.
Yeah.
Right. And so like he's like, but he still has to answer, you know, he has to like answer to the white cop, or he has to answer to Tony Danza. Which is fucking ridiculous.
Okay, I'm so glad.
This cast was so, I was going to ask, even the minor
who played that guy?
Yeah. Tony Danza did, but so like
but what I'm saying, and so in terms of the scene with Ludacris and the cops at the end, it's like it's almost him because he has this fight with his wife on the studio because he just got done
because she called him a coward because he saved her fucking life.
Right, Tony Danza comes up, he's like, "Oh, I don't think he would say that because he's not a smart character, so he would sound more urban," you know, and he was just like, "Yeah, cool, fuck it, whatever, yeah, do whatever you want to do because obviously I'm a piece of shit." You know, in terms of his inner monologue, I would say that look he gives him when he's like, yeah, let's do one more take, has that conversation with his wife. And then he walks off to like go meditate or go think about his life choices and things like that. And that's when he like gets carjacked by Ludacris and his friend, or Don Cheadle's younger brother. And you know, of course, and then that's a direct conflict with the whole philosophy that Ludacris has at the beginning, like, you know, you don't steal from other black people or whatever. And so they have this whole fight and like shooting, and then the cops come. And
well,
like, I think
to what Caleb's saying, it makes no sense that Ludacris doesn't walk away right then when he realizes it's Terrence Howard, based on everything he said the entire movie.
Yeah, because characters aren't characters in this movie; they're just whatever the plot needs them to be.
You know, but I think it's also
fucking bad writing.
So to finish this thought process, it's Terrence Howard standing up like to the cops and be like, what are you going to do about it? Like kind of maybe standing up for himself, maybe because he thinks he's been like, he takes what his wife said and he is a coward or whatever. But it takes, you know, that the young cop to stand up to him and be like, listen, this is the situation. You know, it's not going to end well. Just back the fuck up. The only difference is that we know as an audience that he has a gun in his back, in his pants. Mm-hmm. And so we know that he's super fucked anyway. So now the tension that they artificially build here is that as soon as they go to look for him, pat him down, they're going to find the gun that's not his, that he just took from Ludacris, and that's going to just fuck him over anyway. So we're thankful, I would say, that that young cop can do him a favor and stuff like that. But it's not earned. And I think that's what we're getting at, is that because you have a movie that's has 7 points of view, 7, it keeps jumping around. You'll have like a 30-second scene, then go to another thing, and maybe, yeah, cool, you can have these cool transitions of somebody walking through a door and then cutting to somebody walking through a door that's a different character type of stuff, or the fact that, you know, you can build a web to how they're connected, but because it's just so artificial, it's not based in anything that like somebody can follow and be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I guess this is a good time to bring up the whole like structure thing, right? So like the thing about this movie is that they didn't have an outline or a structure or anything. They literally just had a premise. They researched the story and this like, I guess this racism thing, you know, in LA, everyone's behind like in their car. There's no connection, and it's something that I've been told that like someone's expressed about LA is because people spend so much time in their cars and there is no human reaction like there is in New York City, that there are a lot of prejudices in LA more than you think there are.
Oh, because New York has no.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like there's always going to be prejudice to a certain degree. I'm just saying because we're forced to sit on a train car with so many different kinds of people, you learn to kind of like coexist in this thing. But like when you're with your car and you're in your own thing, and then you have an interaction like a car crash or whatever, and you're faced with these extreme situations of like, you know, it's very stressful to get in a car accident and you're like your life's on the line or whatever, and then things come out. But you know, there was no structure, right? So it's like, I think one of the fun tidbits that Bobby was saying was like on day 3 they were like they didn't know where to go because they went into this project not knowing where the ending was going to be. That all their intention was to explore this situation or whatever, and kind of open themselves up to creatively to writing this free flow story. So like day 3, they're like, I don't know, I don't know where to go. And they're like, well, what about that, you know, Asian woman that we used at the beginning for the accident? Oh, where's she going? Why did she get in an accident? Like asking those questions. Like, yeah, you know, the major question is, as a creator, as a writer, like, yeah, ask those questions, explore, sure. But in a sense of a movie like this, I don't think it has its legs, because she's a character that was obviously a vehicle for the beginning, and then because they didn't know that, that's why they brought in the husband, and that's where she's going, because obviously they're married. The guy who gets run over and the woman from the beginning. That's how that connects. And then obviously the daughter of the shop owner is the nurse or whatever. That shows it's, my point being is the reason we're having such an issue with this movie and these characters is because it wasn't created, I don't think, as traditionally as some people may write a movie or start a screenplay or things like that. You know, that's my word vomit. I don't know if that made sense. Probably not.
I mean, it's a lot to respond to.
Yeah, I'm still trying to process everything.
I don't know why you guys kept me going for so long. You know me,
because last time I cut you off, you gave me a real dirty look.
No,
so didn't feel super comfortable cutting you off, bro.
Now I'm sitting here going like, did I just black out? What happened?
What I will say, if that's true, it's exactly to our point. Like,
yeah, tear
why
me
did
apart.
it win me? No. That's like what you just said with like exactly all of our points this entire time. So you devised a movie, right? And then we gave you the Academy Award.
But I think that's my point. I want to pull back from committing, that's what I'm saying, committing to that, maybe, because I don't want the takeaway to be I don't want the takeaway to be non-traditional approaches to storytelling don't work. No, the issue isn't but what I'm responding to what Josh said, which was, you know, our issues are that you said this was like a non-linear or non-weighted. It's not that, like, you can have a story told in this way, and you can have a free-flowing creative process when you're writing it. But like, if the core of what you're trying to say is bankrupt, the whole thing falls apart. The precipice that this movie hinges on isn't there. There's no base. Like you watch PTA's Magnolia, which is all these fucking different people's storylines colliding, and they all know each other and they're all connected. And it works because like there's themes and there's characters and there's journeys, But this isn't that. It's just like all of these characters are racist or prejudiced, and none of them learn anything from it.
Well, that's the thing. Like Josh, when we'd be in like devising class or whatever, like the things that we're trying to do, there's still a core point, you know? Like if you as a director, you'd be like, yeah, this is what we're trying to, you know what I mean? This is the direction we're heading, or you'd figure it out as you went, but you'd find a point that you wanted to tell, not just like, you know what I'm saying? Like this movie, how did it get to this point of even filming? And you know what I mean? If you're going to put that much money into it, like you would think all the devising stuff would be so done before that, and you would have found a point. You know what I mean? Not just like,
and
racism's bad.
Well, what it seems like too is that because they didn't know how the characters were all going to connect originally. They didn't go out saying this is the web we're creating. Right. It was just like, oh, wait, what is this scene about? Oh, wouldn't that be cool if someone like this? And like, it's more of like
wouldn't it be
an
cool?
Exploration. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, like you said, it's not setting out to really say anything whatsoever. It's just they had
I'm
an
holding
issue.
a mirror up to society. Ha ha ha.
Well, then, Josh, when you would have put it that way, and then you like go back and you try to look at the connections, it's just so fabricated, right? You're like, okay, so you wrote all these scenes, and then we're like, all right, how do we get this guy here, and how do we get Sandra Bullock to tell her maid that she's her best friend? Well, she's got to fall.
She's got to fall down the stairs.
And she's the only one available. Like,
fucking bullshit.
It's
just bullshit.
It's when you have to go back and think about like, so then, but then why does she even like? Why does even a housekeeper, you know, even have to be there to help her? Oh, it's because her friends are shit and artificial, and like your friends are waspy friends that like, you know, that you think are your friends for 10 years, and you gab and you talk about all this kind of shit, but then like when it really matters, who's there for you?
Cool.
You know?
Would have been really cool if we knew anything about Sandra Bullock's life or character outside of her hating
Right.
Mexicans. We don't know enough about these people except for the one thing that we're being told. Like, oh, by the way, this is bad, but this is also the only thing to any of these characters. And like, there are like little moments as in like Brandon, like, so like Keith David, right? Fucking amazing. Really great actor. Wish that he was like in the movie more, because what he was saying is like, well, you know, I've had to climb where I am as a black police commissioner or whatever. Yeah, like, you know, it's over in fucking half a minute, and the point isn't that. That's not the point of that scene. The point is like, oh, doesn't it suck for Ryan Felipe that he wants to like get transferred, but he's like, he has to like, you know, put his neck out on a limb for it.
But what I liked about that scene is it's the only scene in the movie where I was thinking, because he's fucking with Ryan Felipe in a way that he's like, keeps giving him these different options to see what he wants to do and what he wants to take, until he finally is like, you're not understanding what I'm trying to tell you here. If you do this, you're going to undo the work I've done. And at least there's a thought-provoking moment there, you know, and the way it's written is thought-provoking, you know, as you're trying to figure out what Ryan Felipe is trying to figure out. Like, that was the only scene in the movie that I was engaged, that I was actually thinking about the thought processes going on in the scene.
Yeah, because like you see, like, yeah, okay, cool. There's a sort of systemic racism in the force, and that cops, like, they're racist, but we have to deal with it. Like, and I think that doesn't, just because you like kind of touch it, you kind of like tiptoe to the line and like
I wish they committed to it more.
And it's like,
For
okay,
sure.
You know.
Yeah, again, like the whole movie should have been about that guy.
It's like what's funny too. I mean, that would have been fun.
Before we move on from this point, though, with Ryan Felipe specifically, because like he doesn't take that and go anywhere with it. Because what makes that his character so frustrating is because the next scene with Matt Dillon, where Matt Dillon's like, you spend a little more time, you'll understand, and then he's proven right because he fucking kills. You know, and it's like, what the fuck are you? What is you saying? You're saying that, oh, like it's not, you know, it's just the fact that cops have to be this way. It's inevitable that it's going to happen, that you'll fucking.
Well, I'm sorry, I also could be wrong, but Caleb, you lived in LA for a while.
Yeah.
Is anyone in 2004 picking anyone up off the side of the road? Period.
Not in my experience. I also wasn't living in 2004. Maybe hitchhiking was a lot bigger back then.
Just like you're like it that
yeah.
Again, Josh, as you were saying, like just these fucking contrived moments.
It's a way to get those two characters.
Yeah, it's contrived. It's convoluted.
Like it doesn't.
Yeah. But also, like, yeah, I've like lived in and I've driven on like, you know, I've driven on the one, driven on the 305, like, yeah, road rage is a thing, but I've never like thought to hurl racial slurs at everyone in the cars around me. Like, the thesis of this movie is that everyone is like racist to the degree that they are like, what did you say, Josh, before we recorded? Macroaggressions?
Yeah, macroaggressions.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I've gotten in fender benders before, and I've never thought once, like, to be like, you fucking slur, like,
right? Like, if you could just see above the wheel or something, like whatever the first scene was.
Oh my god!
But then they even. So
how can we fold Shaniqua Johnson back into the movie at the very end? Oh, I know. It's like, shut up.
Which again, I'm frustrating because like I like her too. And then what? Like,
she was completely justified in everything she said, but then it's like, but like Matt Dillon, it's like we have to feel bad for his dad. It's like, yeah, but she was completely right.
She was that's a great moment in that
she
scene.
She was the only character in the movie that did nothing wrong.
Well, when she's like, your father seems like a good man, and had he come in, I probably would have approved this, but you did.
You're an asshole.
And I was like, oh shit, that's unreal.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like why. And this movie's interesting because we focus a lot on like the people that we're told to follow throughout the movie, right? But it's the reactions by the supporting characters that I don't even know if it's enough to like redeem some of these scenes, but like that scene with the work, in the office and stuff like that, and she's like,
right,
you're a fucking asshole, and but it's same thing with like Don Cheadle's brother. Don Cheadle, by the way, who co-produced this, so there was something here in this project.
Cheadle. I love Cheadle, but man, I don't know about this one.
Like he even like, of course, and then like that joke with his mom when they're, his partner was having sex, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm having sex with a white woman just to piss off his mom. But then she's like, dude, I'm not even like, and then he's like, if I said Mexican, she wouldn't have gotten mad. She's like, I'm not fucking Mexican. I'm Puerto Rican and El Salvadorian or Ecuadorian or something, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just okay. So even he has his prejudices, but even with his brother, right? His brother who like, he's like, oh yeah, I want to be a goalie.
Oh yeah. Did you like
I wanted
Brandon?
to be
when he
whatever.
Was like,
I like hockey.
And then
like literally,
and then he was like, oh, I was ice skating, and everybody was like. And then he was like, oh, yeah, you were ice skating. Okay. It's like, shut up. I'm just exhausting. It's fucking exhausting. Don Cheadle was all right, I guess. That whole monologue in the beginning was stupid. I don't know if you guys agreed. When he was like, do you think sometimes that maybe we crash into each other just to feel something? And then Jennifer Esposito was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, shut up, dude.
I thought it was actually really funny after watching Chungking Express last week.
Yeah.
And like that. Just that idea of like strangers passing in the wind and like, that human connection. It was definitely like one of those things where we're like, okay, I mean, if you're exploring this idea that random people can somehow be connected or like somehow develop different kinds of relationships or things like that, or like that chance of like that human, that baseline human connection which we're all fucking deprived of over this COVID quarantine shit. Like, human interactions, obviously I have Caleb once a week. So
but Josh, that's such a good fucking point.
But it did bring that, like the very big opening monologue in that scene of that line. The same, it brought me right back to Chungking Express and that opening scene of we pass so many people on every day and we don't know what could come out of it, and it was even
we went through a whole podcast last week talking about that movie. And even the way that they jump from one person to another, I don't think at any point any of us were like, that seems contrived or this. It was just like, yeah, this is what they're doing. So it's such a great point because we just watched a good version of that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then it's like, you wrote a bunch of scenes and then you just like, and
then Don Cheadle comes in and the fucking awesome William Fichtner.
He's so good.
2004. It's nice to watch a movie from 2004. He's like, oh, all these guys. Like, when's the last time you saw Brendan Fraser in a movie? You know what I mean?
I was gonna say that Brendan Fraser, man. We gotta get that guy's got to find some more work. He's the man.
He literally has to find some more work. His fucking ex-wife's bleeding him dry in alimony.
Dude, that's the craziest
I know it's the whole thing.
Ever.
We probably shouldn't get too deep into it.
But no,
yeah,
like
William
the cast is stacked. Like even the supporting characters are all people that I'm like, holy shit! Like, yeah,
everybody.
But I don't know. I know I don't know. Well, I don't know how you feel about it, Josh. But I know Brandon. You know, you're like, and a lot of the defenders of this film will be like, yeah, but like the acting is so good. And I personally don't think that. I have a really hard time, like, coming around to that idea, just because it's all in the service of nothing. Like, I understand. Like, yeah, they're expressing emotions, but like the words are so bad, and like the points that they're making don't make any sense, that I have a really hard, I'm not saying it's the actor's fault by any means, but I'm having a really hard time. It wasn't enough for me. Like, I still couldn't buy into any of what they were saying. I didn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't get invested.
No, it's even for like the scene where Matt Dillon is saving Thandie Newton from the car. Mm-hmm. Even in that, when he's under her and it's starts to become a nice scene where he's like, I'm not going to hurt you.
Where he actually asks permission. Hey, I'm going to reach over your kid.
Right? Okay, can I reach over?
As
and
you're
there's
dying.
there's that kind of two-headed close-up where she's hanging on. She's in a harness, but she's hanging there. And my only thought during that scene is like, oh, it seems like there's a lot of trust between the actors there. That's nice. You know what I mean? Like, again, like that's they're doing a great job, but I'm so disconnected from the story of what the fuck is happening. That I'm just oh, that's cool. They're doing good work.
Yeah, and I think because of the way they forced these connections to happen, it just doesn't land like what we've been discussing in terms of that saving scene. Like, of course he's gonna pull out. That's his job. He's trying to save her. Just so happens let's add a little fuel to the fire. No pun intended.
Oh, it just happened to be the woman I molested last night.
Right.
Fuck off.
And it's too coincidental for me to be like to follow the whole time.
Well, and then at the exact same time, your husband's getting, saved by Ryan Felipe. Mm-hmm.
And then they come back and they don't have to, all of their problems in their relationship are fixed because they both got saved by white people. Fuck off. And also, Thandie Newton is the other time that I laughed on accident really hard, because she does a pretty good job, but like sometimes her accent comes through, and when she's hanging upside down in the car, the seatbelt's choking her, and she's like, "Help me, save me!" I was like, "Oh, Tandy, oh no, it's not your fault, babe, but like, come on, it's so funny." And then Dylan, justifiably, she freaks out because she sees the fucking guy who finger raped her, and she's like, "Not you, somebody help!" But it's like she's screeching and she's choking, and he's like, "Oh, like, no, come on, I'm trying to help you." Well,
no, he does have that moment of like, "Fuck, not her." Like, of course it's her.
Yeah.
Oh, the consequences of my actions. Whatever.
But even like as Caleb was saying before though, and then all of a sudden he's in the car and boom, it's not that character, it's just Matt Dillon in the best way, because like again the writing makes no sense. So then it's all of a sudden like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Can I reach over? Like, and it's Matt Dillon, you know what I mean? And it's just a totally different.
I know
person.
You have no reason to trust me, but I promise I'm not going to hurt you. Who else? I'm just looking through the main cast. Who the fuck else?
And like, again, that's not Matt Dillon's fault at all. It's just how the scene's written.
It's none of the actor's fault.
Yes.
And then, because this movie's committed to the idea of nobody being like, I don't know if they were trying to do like morally gray everyone, or if it was just everybody's fucking irredeemable. But the fucking Korean man that they run over was a fucking human trafficker.
Yeah.
Like at the very end. And Ludacris
that was interesting too. And then like Ludacris is
he
like,
sits in the car and he goes, yeah, I guess I did do a good thing. And he drives. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? The chop shop guy's like, oh, I'm going to sell these human beings. Like, when did you what? I thought you were just selling cars. Now you're extra a fucking monster. It's just so ridiculous. It's cartoonish how like evil these people are.
Because of the not based in like, there's just no
nuance.
Real.
It does not reflect the real world in an accurate way.
The last time Ludacris brought a car and there's a body in the trunk.
Stop it.
He also isn't going to check this car. I thought did you think I was going to do a Pimp My Ride thing?
I thought you were doing I thought you were doing a Fast and Furious, setting up for Fast and Furious.
When did Too Fast, Too Furious come out?
Before this, because Tokyo Drift was around this time.
2006, I think, was Tokyo Drift.
So maybe it was 2004. I'm gonna say 2003.
So Ludacris just got done doing Too Fast, Too Furious.
He's like, I can do any car movie I want. The doors are opened into the industry for me.
You know,
Ugh.
it kind of begs the question. Well, I thought it was interesting because obviously this like the human trafficking thing, he lets them all free, and then obviously they're all confused on like what the fuck is going on, and like
just keeps calling them Chinamen.
Yeah, it's
like
go buy some chop suey or whatever he told them to.
Shut
it's like, Jesus. And you know, it's like
2003. I was right. Sorry. Anyway.
What's that?
Too Fast, Too Furious was 2003.
2003. Anyway, all right. So he's riding high off the Too Fast, Too Furious. Too fast, y'all.
Riding high off the nitrous.
I like that movie.
I know you do.
It was fun. You know, it's funny because Caleb texted me. He's like, "You probably like this movie better than I did," and like I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, because there's a lot of movies that I really enjoy that Caleb hates, but it's so funny. Like, the more I do this, the more I like academically like sit down and like see good things, and then go back to these movies that have gotten accolades and things like that. I see it. You know, I might not be as animated, but I see it, and it is infuriating because I don't want to be told. Yeah, like I don't want to be told what to think. But that's because I can also make my own summations. But it's also like, don't like give your audience some credit. You know, like don't this just hold
really hates its audience. It
don't hold their arm and like don't hold their hand and like say and like spoon feed them these certain suggestions. Like because it does a disservice to the actors involved in the process or in the project, because all of these actors are great in their individual movies and their careers, and but I can't take them seriously because, like you said, like we talked about the DA, like Brendan Fraser's character is the DA of LA, and so he's always dealing with this like these racial things like that, and of course he's like, why do these have to be black? And like there's always going to be examples of like there's and because he's political and spinning it right, so they brought up the black vote versus the Law and Order vote, and I'm just like, God damn it, 2020, because that's all the last 8 months have been. But then it's like we're so far from being to the point where like it doesn't matter what race they are. They can be black carjackers just as much as they can be white carjackers or Asian carjackers or whatever. We're so far from that just being like a descriptor and not like a racist thing, or like being taken as, well, why do they got to be black type of shit. You know what I mean? Because those experiences happen, and it sucks because in the movie, the way they fucking did it is infuriating, because it's like what we said, Ludacris has that monologue, and all of a sudden it's like, what do we have that they don't? Guns? Sure. And then they go rob it because they're traffic. They're like,
it was like a bad Chappelle Show skit.
They're looking, they're looking
what
at,
the fuck are you talking about?
They're looking for like, they have to pick the car so they can go sell it or whatever. But anyway, but he's like, well, why don't I just take like submit that picture of that firefighter. Oh, he's Iraqi. He's not, well, right. He's not even black, and it's like, named Saddam, it's like
Terrence Howard has that scene with Ludacris, and it's a good moment, but where he's like, you embarrass me and you embarrass yourself. But we just heard Ludacris do 3 monologues about that. He already is aware. He's made that very clear.
Right. He's like, I don't take buses like, because it's for white people to look at us and say, oh, look at people of color taking public transit. Look how poor they are. It's like,
which is very interesting theory on his part.
The characters just change, like scene by scene.
There's no consistency.
So different.
So I'm super glad we watched it.
Movie of the year. I really loved it.
Josh, Josh, I want to go back to something Josh said before, because when you were saying how now you're going into these movies and you're seeing it and you're watching it academically, I'm feeling the exact same way. Like, especially with this one, that really hit me because I try to be very positive about art. You know what I mean? I like people creating stuff. I like, that's why when you guys asked me, the first thing I said was the acting was great. You know what I mean? But you watch this now and you can't ignore it after all these conversations we've had, all the training and stuff. You can't ignore the fact that it's just all over the fucking place and doesn't make any sense. Like it's so frustrating to watch now, right? And I watched it 5 years ago, I'd probably be like, oh, that was sweet.
Well, because last time at the end of last episode, I feel like you said, like, you were like, oh, that movie's awesome, really great acting.
The last time I remember seeing it, well, I was a kid, and I was like, oh, that's great.
So in my head, I was like, oh, this is Brandon. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I took it for granted that it was many years ago.
No, but
since the last time you had seen it.
It's like Josh said, like this stuff, as we talk about it more and more, it just comes more to light, and you can't ignore it. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. This writing's all over the place. You know what I mean? It's just like,
and like it begs to question, what, as we go through the decades and as we jump over time and things like that, of what comes, because it all falls on what comes out that year, right? So like,
yeah,
and like we mentioned it before, Brokeback Mountain, in terms of like just a quick example of other things that were out, was Capote,
Good Night and Good Luck, Munich, like, come on, man. Come on.
So they chose the movie about racism.
It makes them,
it seems crazy, because even based on like that versus Brokeback, I certainly didn't expect Brokeback to be one of the other movies nominated and lose to this. That doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, we see it time and again, though. There's how many years? Like, it wasn't until like a few years ago where people were just like starting to call out and boycott, the Academy because of how biased they are, like how political it is,
Moonlight in 2016.
Yeah. And it was, obviously, like I said, Brokeback Mountain, I think, was a little bit before its time.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate because
it gets Academy Awards now.
Oh yeah, I mean, just like, the honesty behind it, and
well, maybe.
But then you look at
people would boycott it because of the two leads being straight.
Well,
because
that's also insane.
I mean, but that's the same argument we have.
All open that can of worms. I'm sorry, that was my bad.
We've had that argument.
I think we actually
we've had the argument for the Danish Girl, right? Because like Brandon, you said something about like I'm in the opinion of that you could have a male identifying actor play the pre-operation character of a trans person, and you guys have differing opinions. Like it should, whatever. So it definitely is a thing.
Well, honestly, that's not fair.
Hold on.
Well, no. Because what he's saying is because when we did that episode, if you listen back, we were like pushing back on, because I think were digging your heels in a little bit. I think we were playing a little bit of tug of war.
Yeah, because I totally agree with that. I think that especially with that, there's very specific things there, that I don't think it's fair for, like, I think we talked about this too, but even in that, Eddie Redmayne now is like, I don't know that I would do it again.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. It was a beautiful experience, but
I would say, Brandon, I'd be okay with casting you or Caleb as a gay character. I think you guys have the ability, but like
sexuality is fluid, right?
That's the thing. Like, I think it has to be that way, or like also what? So gay guys aren't allowed to play straight people? That's insane. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
it's a little different, but
what?
It is different.
Oh, really?
It is different. It is different because like that argument doesn't hold weight because like straight people aren't persecuted the same way gay people are. It's a difference in opportunities.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, we want to get to a place where, everybody can play everything that is with, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't have to ask like what your sexual orientation is when you come in for a specific role.
That's the thing, right? I don't think that should matter.
You should just audition if you just so happen to be gay or straight.
Well, I'm trying to say the point that people, it's opportunities.
Yes, for sure. And representation. And I understand that as well. And like, I agree with that as well. It's a very tricky line. It's definitely a very tricky line.
But my point with it's just because the reason that I said that was because, in my opinion, when you were saying, like, I texted you like, oh, you might like it more than me. To be fair, I wasn't that far into the movie, and like the crazy shit hadn't happened yet. So I didn't think that. I thought that you're like dumb or whatever. But because in my opinion, the Danish Girl suffers from similar problems. Obviously, I think that movie has some redeeming qualities in terms of like whatever. But again, that is another example, in my opinion, of a movie that is designed for the same audience to feel good about themselves without actually engaging in critical thinking about the issues it's talking about.
Yeah.
I agree, but I would argue the Danish Girl tried much harder.
Well, I was just about to say Crash is the most extreme
Yeah.
example of how to not do this.
Yeah.
We've done a whole episode on the Danish Girl, so you can get all of our full thoughts on that if you go back and listen to it. I really don't like when writers change facts about a real story to make it more palatable for a mainstream audience. I think that's really fucked up. And then turn around and be like, no, but we're telling the true story of this. Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. But for Crash, I will say, obviously is the worst offender out of the two. I genuinely think it's one of the worst films of the 21st century. I'm really having a hard time coming up with many examples that I would say that I appreciate less, that I think have less merit.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Good. No, I agree.
I was going to say, I think that being said, like a half hour when I was watching it or 50 minutes into an hour into watching it, I did text Caleb at about 1 o'clock going, what the fuck? Oh
I woke up to that. Like, you were like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. Like it's just, fortunately I was a little more ready for it because you guys had already put that in like the group text. We were already. Okay. Cool. All right. So this is what we're getting ready for. But it's just like, it's so, it feels so morally bankrupt in trying to win an Academy Award based on real issues. And I think that is more like that takes over and being more infuriated than anything else about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the song, Brandon?
Which one?
In the deep. I was laughing my ass off. That montage where everybody's all sad because they're racist. There's like Ryan Phillippe is like, oh, I killed a person, I'm gonna cry about it. It's like I can't.
Would you not cry about it if you killed somebody?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm sorry. I take back everything I said. No, but like
it just like that situation.
Terrence Howard, they're like burning the car and he's like looking up at the snow or whatever. It's like, because remember earlier, this is good screenwriting because we set it up earlier. Like, it might snow in LA. Isn't that weird? And then, oh my God, it snowed at the end of the movie. Look at me, really setups and payoffs, screenwriting 101. Shut up.
That's what it was, right, Josh? That's what I thought too. It was Ash,
it's Ash because he tries to brush it off and it like stands, because from the burning car. But because it's magical and whatever. But like that goes, even with the song, that goes back to the spoon feeding and the telling your audience exactly how they're supposed to feel about a certain thing. It's like, come on.
In my opinion, and you guys, I don't know. I don't know if you guys will agree necessarily or disagree or whatever. In my opinion, I think effective art creates an environment for you to naturally experience emotions, whatever those emotions arise. And like a really skilled craftsman can kind of put the pieces in that you're going to get most likely this is the emotion he wants you to.
Right.
Bad art tells you how to feel and why you should feel about it. And that's what I think Crash does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like it was screaming racism's bad at me and I was trying to scream back. I'm aware. Can I turn you off now? Please. Like it was just like and the worst part is there's so many things that you could have done, right? You have so many actors that are unbelievable. Like you could have just done so much. I
would love to take interviews like with all these actors, like in terms of the process and like how they feel about it, because I mean, as an actor, we're hired to play a character. We're given a script, maybe depending on producing credit and things like that, if we have any kind of input in the story, in what our character is. So I think, Bobby Moresco mentioned that even him and Don Cheadle and Paul sat in a room like for that last scene or whatever, because like Don Cheadle's like, I don't think my character wouldn't do this, but because Don Cheadle is a good actor where he like comes prepared and he understands the story that's being told for this detective, this character. They sat down and hashed out what the last bit would be, all through what Don Cheadle thinks. Again, Don Cheadle has a co-producing credit for this, so I'm interested. I'm interested to kind of know kind of where
he wasn't going to get Ocean's 11 again.
He wasn't going to get Ocean's 11 again. I'm curious as to like the reasoning why, and like because you have to kind of get behind a project and kind of understand it. Maybe because it was 2004. Maybe because it was that movie that people were like, oh my God, this could be it or whatever. Let's tackle this issue. Not thinking of the ramifications of how people will perceive it 16 years later. But in the moment,
actors,
you know,
that's definitely it. You would think the actors are signing on because it seems like it should be a project that is morally valuable and helpful to the world and trying to tell a point. That's just unfortunately
and
not
like if
what
you're
came out of it.
let's say you're Sandra Bullock and you read the script and you're asked to play this super racist woman, this wasp woman, and she's like, and you have to see it like, you know what, like, great, because I'm sure she knows that what it could be, what, you know, they're talking, you know, Oscar buzz or whatever. Although, because like I said, it doesn't get released. It premieres at Toronto in September, released in May of 2005, and then you have to wait until 2006 for the Academy Awards.
Well, that's the thing. So it doesn't look like it was like set up for that, right?
Yeah, I wondered. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of research that I unfortunately did not do in terms of the reception at like the film festival. And
I wonder just the timeline of it. Like if you release it at, I don't know where they usually release.
I mean,
you know what I mean? The timeline of is TIFF the usual release spot for?
But like, you know, I don't know. You release your film in a film festival. TIFF is in the fall, so like,
but that means it's not hitting theaters.
It gets a distribution date, and lots of movies don't get distribution until the next year after. Like, or it got released in early-ish 2005.
Well, I'm just saying if you take it to like whatever Cannes earlier, you probably have distribution by November.
Right, so it'd probably be available for the 2005.
But the French people were like, "This is fucking stupid."
or also, Crash was like, "Hey, we don't want to be anywhere near the same year as Lord of the Rings."
That's also
because that was the year before. So and they won 12 Oscars.
Yeah, there's no way that Return of the King wasn't going to sweep. I mean, I think it still had won the most, right, of anything in one night.
I think so.
11 or 12.
That's so nuts. Yeah. That's so crazy that a fantasy. Movie
right?
do that.
Yeah, but it's not like a fantasy movie. You know what I mean? It's like Lord of the Rings. It's like
yeah.
No, but in like a real way. Like, you know, like Harry Potter is not going to win Oscars.
No,
like, you know what I mean? Lord of the Rings is like a huge epic production with like lots of artistic like people like spent years meticulously crafting.
Now it's going to go win all the Emmys because Amazon put like fucking $300 million into their Lord of the Rings
Holy
show.
Shit.
I can't believe. Like I'm literally built and born to play a hobbit. I can't believe that I'm not in that show. Anyway,
you get the British accent going.
Oi, all right, and it's me, Frodo Baggins. I'm gonna take the one ring to Mordor.
But it's one last point I'll make, and then we can rate.
Yeah, okay.
It's the same writing team as $1 Million Baby. I was telling Caleb before that, but that being said, it wasn't directed by any of the two. It was directed by
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. So
there was that. He's a fucking Republican nut, but he knows how to make a fucking movie.
Yeah, there was that third eye, right? I always say, you know, they told us in school many times that writers don't necessarily make the best directors. Like, there's very seldom, actor directors or writer directors, whatever. It's very seldom can you get a great writer who can also direct their stuff and whatever.
That's about it.
And so you need to have that almost that third eye, you know? So like it is interesting because I'm not saying they're not bad writers. I'm just saying this particular project.
I'm saying that.
Caleb is saying that. I'm not. That
I don't know.
This
Everybody
project misses the mark.
Everybody misses once in a while. You can't. It's really hard to bat 1,000. I understand that.
But that's the thing. Totally, you know. I like to be positive and think they went into it with the best of intentions to really make something that, you know, morally moved the chains, and it just didn't work. And that's totally fine. And the actors were great. We still gave them the Academy Award.
Yeah. We did, yeah.
And I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Brokeback Mountain, man.
I know.
Capote, any of the other choices.
I know, but it's twice as frustrating when like
Munich.
Yeah. All amazing, but how does Brokeback Mountain not win that year?
Because people don't like
it's about gay people, and it's 2004.
I know, but that's a kind of a crazy thought now, right? Because if you put that movie out in the last 6 years, 7 years, like it's gonna win every time.
Call Me by Your Name didn't win.
What did it lose to?
Shape of Water, which I think is the better movie, but I'm just saying, you know.
I never saw Shape of Water.
It's so good.
I didn't either.
What?
I didn't either.
Guys,
I'm not.
It's Guillermo. It's Del Toro. It's Pan's Labyrinth.
I like Guillermo.
I think it's
maybe
great.
we'll watch that at some point.
Guillermo is here in Toronto filming a movie with Bradley Cooper.
I really wanted you to be like, Guillermo, do you want to come in? He's here. Like, do you want to step on camera? I love him. Pacific Rim, baby. All right, sorry, Josh.
No, I'm good to rate if you guys are. So
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. What are you start?
I'm gonna start it off. I'm gonna go. Shit.
Oh, man.
I didn't like it.
It's up to you. What is he gonna do?
I'm gonna have to go with a 3.
3? After all we just said, you're giving it a 3?
Hey, don't.
It's fine. I'm just really
don't
surprised.
Debate other people's ratings, Caleb.
I'm not trying to debate, but it's just like we've just been on this whole hour-long conversation about how it's meritless. I just confused.
I'm a little confused too because I'm sitting here going like, is that because I feel like a 2 is too harsh.
How?
Josh, if it helps, I'm planning on giving it a 2.
All right, I'll give it a 2.
Oh my god! All right, I'm so interested.
Oh, he doesn't like the 2s either.
Well, I'm giving this a 0.5. I think this is the worst thing we've.
0.5.
I think it's the worst.
Right.
I think it's the worst fucking thing we've watched on this show because of the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It's I genuinely cannot fathom like at least the hottie and the naughty at Christine Locken, like I don't know. It's just I really this shit really pisses me off.
Yeah. This
shit really makes me mad. I'm not saying that you're wrong to rate it how I'm saying I'm surprised.
No, it's because here's the thing though, and that's I've been thinking about this all for the last few days of what am I actually going to write it because I did not like this movie.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here going, but Academy Awards, but people who know more than I do, two more people who know more than I do, rated it higher. They think it's okay. It's gotten a 70 something, essentially a 80%, 77% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing too.
And
because people like to feel good about themselves. That's what I mean. This is a movie that's designed to make people feel, oh, I'm not a piece of shit. I know blatant aggressive racism is wrong. Okay, yeah, this movie's great. In my opinion, I'm sharing my opinion. I didn't mean to say that. I wasn't trying to judge you. I'm sorry. I was just surprised because we spent an hour talking about how shitty it is. You're like, yeah, it's 3. You caught me off guard. I'm sorry. I think 0.5. I think this is my least favorite out of everything we've watched so far.
Well, I gave it a 2, but I think that also I don't think I've given anything less than a 2.
Yeah, you have.
What have I given less than a 2?
Dark Tower, Hottie and the Naughty. I can go through the list. I have it right in front of me.
So I was prepared.
What did I give Purple Rain? Because I didn't hate this as much as I hated Purple Rain.
Wow. You gave Purple Rain a 2.
Okay, well then I'll keep it because I hate Purple Rain.
I know you do. Sorry. But
it's a movie about Prince beating women. It makes no sense.
It's not a movie about Prince beating women. It's a movie about Prince. It's a movie about a young musician trying to make it, and he also occasionally beats women.
You want to talk about moral bankruptcy? Okay.
Okay.
We're making a movie.
Well, Crash doesn't have When Doves Cry, so you're gonna suck my dick.
Okay, do you think if they used When Doves Cry at the end?
5 out of 5. 5 stars. Movie of the fucking year. Anyway, I'm sorry. The score doesn't matter. We all agree that this movie stinks. That's the
score does matter. And next week I'm gonna make up a full 4.5 rating because next week we're watching the classic from 2014, a decade jump, John Wick. Bring it.
Okay. I haven't seen that in a while. Couple years.
Hold on.
Monsieur
John Wick,
Keanu Reeves,
which started the Keanu-sance. Okay,
he's the man.
We've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right.
But we haven't really done an action movie that I could think of. So.
Tokyo Drifter.
Tokyo Drift is kind of an action movie.
A little
Tokyo
bit.
Drifter as well.
For sure. But actually, in a very great way, Tokyo Drifter is very.
Like a precursor almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even more so, the new and the old, right?
Well, I always enjoy watching Theon Greyjoy get shot in the head. So let's do it.
I forgot he was in this, and I love me some Alfie Allen.
How much for the car? He's so doing his really bad American accent.
It's not about the car. It's who you took the car from.
It's not what you did. It's who you did it to.
Oh, John Leguizamo too.
Yeah,
doesn't
I think
he just
be good.
Beat the shit out of him? He's like, what? Yeah, John, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All right, we'll do John Wick next time.
We'll do John Wick next time. Very great episode. Seriously, it's a nice long one, nice chocked full of all sorts of great conversation.
Sorry,
so
I
thank
yelled
you
so
for.
Much. I just really hate this movie.
That's fine. It's over now. It's over. We can move.
I never have to watch it again.
Never have to watch it again.
I think we've all gone through a thing thinking about this movie.
Please.
I think I lost even more hair than I already have. I'm even balder.
Oh shit, your mustache is gone.
Yeah, my mustache.
You had a mustache
fell off.
last week. No. So thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for riding with us on this journey and this discussion about racism in America. Again, my name is Josh. I'm here with Caleb and Brandon.
3 out of 5 to racism.
I did 2.
Improved.
Did you change it to 2?
I did. I changed
Get
it
him,
to
Josh.
3.
Okay, thank
Get
you.
him.
Follow us on Instagram. We're on all the major podcasting sites
And some minor ones.
Please check us out. And next week, Keanu Reeves,
next week.
John
Let's
Wick.
do it.
All right. Yeah. And if you guys are looking for a fun, cool movie logging review app to get on, letterboxd.com. We're on week 5, maybe even longer of Brandon and Josh not accepting my invite. And so now,
Can you send that again?
I sent it again already. So I can send it a third time if you want.
Can you send it a third time? That would be super.
Sure.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah. Bye, guys.